Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna devotees, thank you very much for joining us today. I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with the 6th canto. We are in the 13th chapter. I want to seek the blessings of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada so that we can share some of the wonderful nectar of the Bhagavatam and try to dive in to this ocean of bhakti. So, chapter 13. Ooh. This was, let's just do the English. Rianch, would you like to read the English translation? Will you read it?
You want me to, Prabhu?
Captain.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Translation: one who has killed a Brahman, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or a spiritual master can be immediately freed from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan. Other sinful persons, such as dog eaters and cannibals, should it? Chandalas, who are less than Sudras, can also be freed in this way. But you are a devotee, and we shall help you by performing the great horse sacrifice. Oh, lost it. I've lost the words.
There.
If you please, Lord Narayan.
Yeah, I haven't got the words. Can finish it off.
Yeah, we can carry on.
So, if you please, Lord Narayan, in that way, why should you be afraid? You'll be freed even if you kill the entire universe, including the Brahmins, not to speak of killing or a disturbing demon like Vistasura.
Okay, so we'll see the relevance of this verse in a little while. So chapter 13, King Indra afflicted by sinful reactions. So the sages, they encourage Indra. Everyone except Indra was pleased when Vritrasura was killed. And the demigods, the sages, Brahma, Shiva, all returned to their respective homes. Now, I wanted to ask devotees, why do you think that everyone was pleased except for Indra? Why was Indra not pleased?
Because he killed his father, his guru, spiritual guru.
No, Niraj, you should, if an elder is speaking, you don't disturb, okay? Please learn that. So, Naniman, carry on.
Yes. Hare Krishna. I think he was not happy because he didn't want to. He had killed sort of like a Vritrasur, whom he think he was a good person. Even though he was a demon, he thinks he had killed a Brahman. That's why.
Yes, but he'd already killed a Brahmin, right?
He had already killed this, yes, and he incurred a sin because of that.
Yes.
And he said if he do another one, he will incur more sin, even though in the first, when he killed his brother, he sort of the sin was distributed with the four people.
Well done, Naniben.
Not four people, four different items. He distributed the sin.
Yeah, that's right. Because you're absolutely right, Naniben. Well done. It looks like it shows that you've been reading and actually understanding it as well. Because not a lot of people understand this. Indra already had tried to go to many people. When he killed Vishwarup, he asked his fellow demigods, please help me take some of the sin. And all of them said, nah, get lost, You're the one who started all this in the first place. How did he start all this? Now, Rianch, how did everything start? Why was it all Indra's fault?
Raju, you have to tell a story?
No, not yet. But do you know why Indra was blamed by everybody? Do you remember? What did he do wrong in the first place?
He killed
No, it didn't. Before that. Anybody remember? Why
Hare
was
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes,
He did not pay his obeisances to his spiritual master,
well done.
Brihaspati, and Brihaspati left, and then this established the Vishwa Rupa as his guru.
That's it.
And then, yes.
That's it. Well done. Good memory, Indulekha Maji, because we did it a little while back. So well remembered. So the demigod said to Indra, you started this all in the first place. So, you know, we're not going to take any sins from Vishwarup. So he knew that there was no point asking the demigods to take any sins. Now, when he killed Vishwarup, he approached humans as well. He approached mankind, Manu. And Manu even said, no can do, all yours. Then he approached Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is so tolerant and so kind. She said, okay, I'll take some of your sins. He approached womanhood, and womanhood said, okay, we'll also take some of your sins. This is their compassionate nature. He approached the trees, and the trees are so tolerant. The tree said, yes, we will also take some of your sins. Then he approached water, and water is so pure. And water said, yes, I can also take some of your sins. So in this way, he distributed the sins when he killed Vishwarupa. Now he knew when he was going to kill Vritasura, there's no one going to help him, right? But we'll see later how he was persuaded by the sages. Don't worry. The sages said, don't worry. We will help you. Don't worry at all. Go ahead, kill him. And then if you see the next line, Brahma and Shiva all returned to their respective homes. While departing, no one spoke to Indra. Of course, it was completely his fault anyway, but he did actually save the Devatas from Vritasura. But you see the lack of compassion in this world. Even the Devatas goes right up to Devatas. No one is compassionate in this world. No one. Only the devotees of the Lord, only the Lord himself. They're the only compassionate persons in this world. So this is a good lesson to learn. If we are attached to any Devata, forget it. There's no compassion. Even Indra saved their lives. Not even a thank you. Not even a good job. Well done, Indra. Can we help? Can we console you? No, nothing. So this is the uncompassionate nature of this world. And I think we should get used to that. The world is very cruel. Except devotees, except the Supreme Lord. Now, if a devotee is not compassionate, then where are we in this world? Right? There's no one left. That's why we're so fortunate to have Prabhupada, compassion personified. Our spiritual master, compassion personified. So Parikshit Maharaj asks why Indra was unhappy when the other demigods were happy, right? They were happy because, hey, they had no worries now. Sukadeva Goswami explained that initially Indra declined the request of the demigods and sages when they asked him to kill Vritasura, another Brahman. Especially after he had killed Vishwarup, he received extensive reactions, but was favored by women, land, trees, and water. Now, if he kills Vritasura, another Brahman, how will he be freed from the reactions? There was nobody else left to help him. However, the sages encouraged Indra to kill Vritasura and had promised to free him from sins by performing the Ashwamedha Yoga sacrifice. But even the sages left him. Even if you note here, not just the demigods went, but even the sages deserted him. So what can you say? There is Indra. He's the only one sad. Everybody else is really chuffed. Intentionally committing sins, of course, and thinking oneself becoming free from the reactions because we're performing some spiritual activity is an abominable offense at the lotus feet of the Lord anyway. So this encouragement by the sages was not in accordance with dharma anyway. You commit the sin and will help you, will free you from it by performing a yajna. That's offense actually to the Supreme Lord. Anyway, after killing Vritrasura, Indra was pursued by sinful reactions in the form of an old woman who was suffering from tuberculosis, covered with blood, scattered hair, gray hair, and unbearable fishy odor came from her body. Indra ran everywhere, but she followed him. Finally, he took shelter in the lotus stem in the Manasa Sarovar lake. So there she is, after him, sin personified, right behind him. Wherever he went, she was there. And then eventually, he hid in this lotus, in this Mansarovar lake. And he was there for a very long time. Indra lived invisibly in that lake for 1,000 years, always thinking of how he could be relieved from his sinful reactions. He stayed in the subtle fibers of a lotus stem, practically starving, because Agni was too afraid to enter the water and deliver Indra's share of sacrifice. Normally, Agni can easily enter the water as he delivers the share of the sacrifices to Varun, who lives in the water. However, because of the sin of killing a Brahman, he could not enter. He was scared. In heaven, so at the same time, in heaven, Indra wasn't there, so his second in charge, if you like, took charge, Nahusa. But he became infatuated by because of power with Indra's wife. And then he was eventually cursed and he became a snake. So finally, Indra, he managed to relieve himself of his sins and he returned to heaven. How did he do that? The sins were diminished by the influence of Rudra, the demigod of all directions, Lord Shiva, by the goddess of fortune, Lord Vishnu's wife, Lakshmi Devi, who resides in the lotus clusters of the lake. And ultimately, he was relieved of all the reactions of his sinful deeds by strictly worshipping Lord Vishnu. So these three things contributed to his return back to the heavens. And then they saw that the sins had disappeared. So the sages, they led by Marichi, performed a Ashwamedha sacrifice, horse sacrifice. And Indra regained his exalted position as king of heaven. And he was again honored by everyone. The learned are always advised to read this narration. If one does so, one will become expert in the activities of the senses. His opulence will increase and his reputation will become widespread. One will also be relieved of all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies and the duration of his life will increase. So that's the end of chapter 13. Any questions, any comments?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Well,
Yes. Initially, when I was reading it, when the sages were encouraging him that you do your sins, it was quite hard to believe. But as you say, it's explained as we go down the line that this is not true. And only Vishnu or Krishna will save us, not anybody else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as far as saving or hatred or whatever is a problem, it's a huge problem in this material world. And as you explained, that nobody is going to save you. Everybody is going to be after you. And
Yeah.
something wrong, rightly or wrongly.
And the thing with Sura was that actually he didn't need to be killed because after he swallowed Indra, he stopped his activities of pursuing the demigods and he was in trance. So the act of killing actually was not justified in this case. Hence
That's what I was thinking, that what had he done before? I know he was after Indra, but I don't know whether he had done any other abominable activities before. Anyway, I didn't know that.
No. We'll see his past in a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Haribol, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is Narayan Kavach on Indra played any part at this moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
That was a protector. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it
Thanks.
protected Indra when he was in the body.
Yeah.
Mm.
In the body of
Okay.
Pratapura,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hare
absolutely.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think also Indra was he was very angry. So in anger, people can commit anything, and then afterward regrets it, like Indra did. Maybe that also because Vitrasura was provoking him.
No, he wasn't angry then. Not so much, because he was angry when Vishwarup, he found out Vishwarup was also offering. But when Vritasura, if you notice, Vritasura was preaching Krishna consciousness to Indra, and he was encouraging him, come on, fight, kill me. Come on, you can do it. And Indra didn't want to fight. And even the sages said to him, kill him. Demigods were saying, kill him. Indra was, why should I kill him? He's a devotee. But then the sages said, no, kill him. We'll save you from the sinful reactions. And then they all ran away.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so chapter 14.
Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prasanatma koti shapi mahamune. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare.
So we're going to see this. This is really eye-opening stuff. So, question was asked, how could Vritasura be such a devotee, right? And as even demigods and sages who are pure, but hardly ever perform bhakti, Parikshit asks Sukadev Goswami, how is it that Vritasura, who was born in a demoniac family, giving trouble to others, could possibly be a pure devotee? This was tough to understand for Parikshit. He was surprised, he was shocked. And he says, out of millions of liberated souls, hardly one is a devotee of Narayan, right? So this is really, really interesting now. How rare devotion to Krishna is, right? So in this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms, right? So you can't even count the number of atoms, even in a little space. So let alone in this universe. How many living entities? As many as atoms. And among these living entities, very, very few are human beings, right? Maybe a few billion. So this is an interesting little diagram. So this is number one, right? Unlimited living entities. And then let's have a look. Number two, among them, among the humans, few are interested in following religious principles. That's number two, right? Few human beings are interested in following dharma. And they're regarded as karmis because they are self-interested. And out of many who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation. I want to get out of this world. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve it. So they may want to get out, but who can actually achieve it? Giving up material attachments to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, children. Who can do that, right? So very rare, even rarer. And then among those who are liberated, who have achieved liberation, hardly one can understand the true meaning of liberation. What does it actually mean to be liberated? So even amongst the liberated persons, what it means to be, because mostly those who think they're liberated, they believe they're God. And this is the point. You're not, even at the stage of liberation, you're not God. You are a servant of God. And then what to speak about the last category? Among many millions who have perfected their knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Krishna. So we are actually very, very fortunate. We claim to be devotees of Krishna. We are aspiring devotees of Krishna. We're trying to become devotees of Krishna. The more fixed up we get, the more we're going to be in this final category, number 6. And really, that's the bullseye. We want to get there. But it's very, very rare. So Parikshit is really shocked. How is it possible? Vatsasura is at this level. Please explain. Sukadeva Goswami then narrated the history of Vatsasura's previous birth, which he had heard from Vyasdev Narad Devala. Okay, Riyansh.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Go for it.
Okay, Prabhuji. Once there was King Chitraketu, and he married 1,000,000 wives, and in that one queen is eldest. So one time also no son was born to all the queens. So Chitraketu Maharaj was worried. But one day a son was born to that eldest queen. So then
Angira. Because of the sage Angira, huh?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
So then all the queens were envious of that queen, that for that queen only the son was born. For them the son was not born. So they tried to kill that boy. So one night they mixed poison in the water and gave it to the child to drink, and when the child drank that water, he died. So next morning, the eldest queen asked her maid servant to bring her child. So her maid servant gone and was starting to waking the boy up, but the boy is not waking. So she told to the eldest queen that your son is not waking up. So when she saw that, she understood that her son was there. So she told to Chitraketu, and they were crying. So then 2 sages came, and their names were Narada and Angira. So they came and asked what happened. So then Chitraketu told that his son was there. So then Narada Muni take the boy to life, and that boy told that philosophy, and then Narada asked that you have to go to in your mother's womb. Then that boy asked, which mother's womb I have to go? So then
Then Chitakut understood.
Then Chitraketu understood that this life is temporary. So he was not crying, and that time Angira Muni gave a sweet rice and
No, that's different. That's different. That's good, Riyansh. You got most of it right. Now listen as we explain it as well, okay? This is how it's given in the Bhagavatam. But very well done. You are pretty accurate, but just not completely accurate, okay? So just listen how Bhagavatam explains this. In his previous life, Vritrasura was a great king named Chitraketu, and that's of the province of Surasen. And he had millions of wives, right? not for sense gratification, for procreation. What happened was the main queen, she couldn't bear children, so he was just trying to get a child, right? Not one of them could have children. Therefore, in spite of his youth, wealth, high birth, he was morose. So once the powerful sage Angira, sorry? Yeah, the reason he wanted the son was to, you can say.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason he wanted a son was so that someone could offer pind for the forefathers and to him after they were gone. So he didn't want that to be stopped.
And to continue with the kingdom.
Yeah.
He visited, Angira visited Chitraketu's palace and saw him. And he was received very nicely by Chitraketu. And once the sage was seated comfortably and he complimented the king on the king's humility and hospitality, he could see actually in the face of the king that he was greatly disturbed. So he inquired, "How are you and how is your kingdom? How are the citizens and your wives?" And Chitraketu revealed immediately that even though this life is full of opulence, he was unhappy due to not having a son. His position was that of a hungry man not satisfied with a garland, right? If a person is hungry and you give him a garland to wear, they're not going to be particularly impressed, right? They prefer to have a plate of prasadam. So Chitraketu requested assistance from the sage. He asked him, "Please help me, and save my forefathers, because otherwise they will descend to hell. Who will there, as Jayanti said, be to offer pindan?" So the sage was very kind and merciful. He performed a yajna, the sacrifice, and he offered sweet rice, oblations to Twashta, very, very powerful demigod, to get a son. Now who is this Twashta? Does anybody remember Twashta? Anybody remember who he is?
Is it the father of
Yeah.
of Vratasur and other one? What is it called? Vishwarupa.
Very good, very good. Yeah, well done. Fantastic. So Angira then offered the remnants of the sacrifice to Chitraketu's first wife, Kritaduti. This sage predicted that you will have a son that would cause you great joy and also great sorrow as well. Now, Chitraketu, he heard both joy and sorrow. He ignored the sorrow bit and he took on this joy. He said, "No, that's fantastic." And the sage left at that time. The sage didn't explain anything further. Chitraketu wasn't ready to hear anything else. Chitraketu. So Chitraketu and his wife, Kritaduti, became pregnant in time, delivered a beautiful baby boy, and the king to increase the reputation, opulence, and longevity of his son, gave so much charity of gold, silver, garments, ornaments, villages, horses, elephants. 60 crore cows, that's 600 million cows. He was not a poor king. This is almost inconceivable numbers. Chitraketu's affection for his son increased day by day. And also for his first wife, Kritaduti, increased. The affection increased. He forgot about the other wives. And being neglected by their husband and having no children of their own, they burned in envy and lost their intelligence and became hard-hearted, intolerant of the king's neglect. And they gave poison to the child, as Rian said. Really cruel thing to do. So the boy's name was Harshashoka. Unaware of the sinful acts of his co-wives, Queen Kritaduti sent her maidservant to bring her son from the cradle. But when the servant went, she saw the child had died. Hearing the servant's loud cries, the queen rushes to her son, who suddenly had died. As she fell unconscious, all the palace residents came and also began to cry. Even the queens the other queens, knowing that they'd poisoned him, they pretended they didn't know anything about it, and they started crying as well. And of course, the king, Chitraketu, he was full of lament. He fell to the ground. Can't even imagine the distress, right? So this is, in the Bhagavatam, probably the most hard-hitting pastime given. And it's got some very, very important lessons for us. The queen then chastises providence and the laws of karma. So she chastises the Lord. My Lord, you may say there is no law that a son must outlive the father. And since everybody lives and dies according to their karma, then no one will raise children with affection. They won't care for their children anymore because they can just die at any time. Since my dear Lord, you've cut the bonds of affection that compel a parent to raise a child, you appear inexperienced and unintelligent. She's having a real go at the Lord. Then she tried to call her son back, tried to wake him up and call him to drink milk. The king then joined his wife in crying loudly. At that time, Angira Muni came, accompanied by Narad Muni. They came disguised. They came as sages, but nobody knew who they were. That's the end of chapter 14. Hard-hitting. Any questions, any comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So then boy's name was Harsha Shoka.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
You know what it means. You tell us.
Happiness and distress.
Correct.
Harsha Shoka. So both are there. So
but he only called him Harsha.
Yes, yes. He forgot the Shoka, which was definitely coming after, right? So the son will ask, as Rian said, the son will wake up. Now when you will make him wake up, and he will ask, whose father, whose child, why are you crying? Do you know how many times have been your father? That is coming anyway.
Yeah, that's later. All right, so let's move on. Okay, oops.
Gone too far.
Yeah. So 15th chapter, 20th verse.
Tadaiva te param jnanam dadami griham agata gyatvani abhiti vesham te putram eva dadami aham.
When I first came to your home,
Yeah, carry on.
When I first came to your home, I could have given you the supreme transcendental knowledge, but when I saw that your mind was absorbed in material things, I gave you only a son who caused you jubilation and lamentation.
Okay. So the chapter's name is the Saints Narad and Angira instruct King Chitraketu. While King Chitraketu was overcome by lamentation, laying like a dead body on the side of the dead body of his son, the two great sages, Narad and Angira, came and, wanting to revive his spiritual consciousness, inquired as follows. What relationship does the dead body for which you lament have with you? Right? These are really hard-hitting questions. What relationship do you have with him? Do you think this relationship of father and son existed before? Does it truly exist now? Will it continue in the future? So they asked him the questions. Right? Now, some people might say this is really hard-hearted, right? But what they knew Chitraketu was a devotee, but they came to wake him up because he was acting like a common materialist, and they knew, you're better than this. Wake up. So they shook him up with these questions to wake him up. They gave him then the answers, the transcendental knowledge. as particles of sand come together and are separated by waves. So the embodied living entities come together and are separated by the force of time. Another example given is how in a river we see sometimes pieces of wood going, they meet, and then they go their separate ways again. So in the same way, this life is just the same. We will come together for a short period, go separate ways, never to mix again, right? Just like the particles of sand come together and are separated by waves, never to come back together again. Similarly, the living entities come together and are separated by the force of time. When seeds are sown in the ground, they sometimes grow into plants and sometimes do not. Right? So sometimes we have children, sometimes they outlive us, sometimes they don't. We've seen that in Kali Yuga. It's very common for the child to leave before the parent leaves. Therefore, one should not lament over the artificial relationships of parenthood, which is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Lord. Before our birth, this situation did not exist, and after our death, it will no longer exist. Therefore, our situation now is temporary, although it is not false. It is there, but it's not going to be permanent. As elements of the material body are eternal, the living entity who appear through these material elements is also eternal. So this point about in the unmanifested form, the material elements are eternal, as pradhan or whatever you want to call it. And similarly, the living entity is eternal. It appears through these material elements in these temporary material forms. So, yes, Naliman.
Yes, it's when it says the living entities that come out of this material world. Are they talking about the soul?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Which particular part are you talking about? This one?
The last one, the living
Yeah.
entities which
Who
appear.
appear through. Only in the sense appear through, i.e.
Get the bodies.
Get their bodies. Yeah, we manifesting that through these material elements, we are manifesting, aren't we? Effectively.
Yes, but they said they're spiritual, but
The
also
living
eternal.
entity.
Oh, sorry, the eternal. The eternal
Yes.
is only the soul, isn't it?
But even the elements are always there. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah, remember the 5 subject matters of the
Yes.
Gita. Prakriti is also eternal. Only one is not eternal is karma.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Going back.
Yeah. So it exists, but it's regarded to be the inferior energy of the Lord. We are the marginal energy, and He is the internal energy of the Lord. Internal energy. So material, just come in because.
Yeah, I understood. Everything is eternal except that karmas.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
understood. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Only thing with the material is sometimes it's manifest, sometimes it's not manifest. Sometimes it goes into Mahavishnu, but it's still there in Mahavishnu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good, well spotted, Naniben. Chitraketu became enlightened by the instructions of the sages. He inquired as to their identity. Who are you? And he gave examples of great perfected souls. And he glorified the Vaishnavas. You always are traveling around the world just to benefit people like me who are materialistic and in illusion. And Chitrakuta begs them to ignite the torch of knowledge to save him. So this is really, well, we actually do see this sometimes it's called Samsan Vairagya. When somebody passes away, there's a great need of knowledge at that time. For a very short, it only lasts during the samsan, and then we go back to our normal ways. But somebody passes away and we think, hey, that's going to happen to me as well. I better learn some spiritual knowledge. But within a day or two afterwards, it's all forgotten and we're back to normal again. But Chitraketu was serious. Something very serious happened to him. And he had 2 great souls who came to visit him. The sages introduced themselves, Narad Muni and Angira Maharaj Muni, and then tell Chitraketu that they have come to relieve him from his lamentation over the loss of something material. This sounds really hard. This sounds really uncompassionate in one sense. But this is reality. This is reality. If we are attached to anything in this world, there will be lamentation because we will lose it at the time of death. And that will keep us in this world. So hard as it may be, and so difficult, this lesson that is being taught to Chitraketu is actually for us. One of the most important lessons in the Bhagavatam. And I think this pastime is one of the most powerful pastimes to really help us. It really can help us detach ourselves from this world and attach ourselves to Krishna. If it doesn't, then we're going to suffer a great loss. Yes, Suresh.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Is Chitraketu sort of a relation to Ashtavak?
Who's that? Who's Ashtavak?
He was born to Mother Sujata.
No, it doesn't ring any bells.
Okay, because maybe.
Yeah, doesn't ring any bells. But on, I think Tuesday, we're going to go through the family chart, and you might see it on Tuesday.
Because it seems Chitraketu is a brother of Sujata.
Okay, maybe that might come out of that chart.
Yeah, because I was listening to a katha of Ashtavark, and Chitraketu's name came in there as a mama.
Okay. Oh, okay. As a?
Mama.
Oh, I see. All
Mother's brother.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, Suresh, were you reading Ashtavakra Gita?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard about that Gita.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, thank you for
that. I thought maybe it's the same Chitraketu, same relation to that katha I was reading. Yeah.
Interesting. It's always nice to relate things, but we're not sure. Yeah, we're not sure.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Angira explains that when he first came, the first time he came, he did not give the king transcendental knowledge because the king's mind was too absorbed in material things. Narad Muni and Angira said, now you are experiencing the misery of one who has sons and daughters. So this is really interesting. You're experiencing the misery of one who has sons and daughters. So whether you have them or you don't have them, there's misery. And how can that be explained? We've seen that before. Whose pastime was that? Where it was King Anga, right? Who had the son called Vena. And the king said to himself, if I had a good son, I would have been attached to him. I've got a bad son, and that's good because now I can become detached from this world. So either way you lose, right? Either way, it's a double-edged sword. If you have a good children, we're going to be attached to the children. That's going to keep us in this world. If we have bad children, we'll be lamenting, oh, why? I've done so much for you, why? So either way, it's a double-edged sword. But if we become detached from the children, either way, then we're in a strong position.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
It relates also to the story of Atmadev Brahmana, Gokarna, and Dundakari. When the Brahman didn't have any son, he wanted the son, and then when he got the son was so bad. And remember that story? Gokarna was born from the cow. It's really the same.
Yeah. So the thing is, we think, I haven't got children. I've lost so much. No, you've not lost anything. In fact, you're in a far better position if you don't have children in this world. Far better position. Because you don't have to go through the misery of one who has sons and daughters. It is only learned through experience. Yes, Riansh?
Roger, I had heard somewhere that if we kill snakes, the son is not born.
Sorry?
Whose son?
If we kill a snake, a son is not born. I
Right.
heard somewhere.
Okay. Once
But
king.
Prabhuji, there is, sorry, Prabhuji.
Go on.
There's another thing, that children who comes, they are kind of they come back as our sin, right? We have to pay for that.
Yeah, some
I
debt.
don't know if it's
a
true,
debt.
but they say, yes.
It's not a
So
sin,
you have
it's a debt.
Yeah.
It's a debt we
Yeah.
owe. Yeah.
Yes,
It's a
they
debt
come
from the
and then
past.
we have, because Guru Maharaj used to say that our daughters, they were our mothers, our births. That's why they came in our daughters. So we have to do things for them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember
It's actually in this age of Kali, and it's better to have a daughter. They're far more smarter than sons. They're far more compassionate. But the problem with having daughters, you become attached. And that attachment will keep us in this world.
Yes.
And you know that.
I know that.
You got 3 of them.
I know that better than anyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Speaking to the converted. One's kingdom, friends, family, etc., are all causes of fear, lamentation, illusion, and distress, because they are all temporary. The body itself is a source of misery. Try to understand your real position, right? This is what the king's being advised. With a steady mind, and you will be able to give up attachment, obtain peace. Then the last bit, I think, is Narad then gave the king a mantra. We'll see that on Monday, which is most auspicious, and told him, in 7 nights, the king will be able to see the Lord face to face. And how in former times, Lord Shiva and other demigods took shelter of the lotus feet of Shankarshan and immediately got free from the illusion of duality and achieved unequaled and unsurpassed glories in spiritual life. The king was assured he will achieve the same. So this is really phenomenal compassion. Oh no, this picture shouldn't be here. It's next one. So I wanted to stop there. Any questions, any comments at this stage? Otherwise, we can move to the lessons.
I had one question.
Yes, Rohit.
But question, it's not like question. Like practically what you said is I said, but if devotees, they can understand. Even devotees also afraid if we say like this. You are not my father, you are not my mother. So
That's true.
if we say to non-devotees, I said to my parents, they got lamentation. So how to apply practically? It doesn't work outside this philosophy.
This one is an internal one. This one is something for you and me, ourselves. This pastime, it will help us as an individual become a devotee. It's not to preach it so much. I do actually give this story quite a lot to adults, just to help understand that this world is temporary. Any affection will actually drown us in this world. But you're right, it's quite a heavy, you got to sugarcoat it. But this one actually is one for us, ourselves, to really get us on the right platform.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful pastimes in scripture.
Haribo, Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's amazing, but unless you can guarantee that at the end of this life, you're going to go back home, back to Godhead, and you won't be worried when you get stuck in Pitulok or somewhere, then you'll think there's nobody there offering oblations to me.
Yeah.
You know, and for that, then you think, I should have a next generation or a son. It's like Chitraketu was thinking like that. But then obviously it was the mercy of Narad Muni and Angir that they came and actually got him out of that illusion, actually, because he was a devotee. But Obviously, it is to also guide us and to teach us as well. But there's no guarantee that we get. So yeah, unless you perfect this life and say, at the end of this life, I'm not coming back to Godhead, then otherwise you'll be, thinking, indebted, and who is there? But unless you're a devotee and you become a pure devotee, then like Prahlad Maharaj, 7 generations or however generations, past and future and all that, are also not going to be worrying like Chitraketu.
If you see Chitraketu, it was Vritrasura, and Vritrasura's mood was completely different, right? And because he got that through Chitraketu, of course, because he is Chitraketu, after the preaching by Narad. So when Narad preached to Chitraketu, Chitraketu woke up. He did the mantra, he saw the Lord, he got transcendental knowledge. And then he became Vritrasura. Now, as Vritrasura, he had zero fear. He said to Indra, kill me, because he knew
he was going to go
That's
back.
right. Yeah, he knew that is a guarantee that he is fully self-realized at that time. So
exactly.
Yeah,
that's right. Good.
Amazing.
Thank you, Rianch. Okay. Anybody else like to say anything?
I was just going to say in one sentence is all these instructions and all that are very often said it, but it's very difficult to put it in practice, isn't it? No matter how advanced you become, the difficulty is that it is to apply. It's quite a challenge.
It is, no doubt about it. But this is the beauty of this pastime. 1 second, Indulek Maji, just to address that point. This pastime is to help us put it into practice.
Thank you, Haribol.
Okay.
Haribol, I think sometimes your destiny also helps you. God in some form comes and helps you in the end. If you're always in the Krishna conscious, your subconscious will have your Krishna all the time. So I think personally, it will happen when the doors will come at the end. I'm sure people who are always in the Krishna conscious minds, God will lead you there.
That
So
is 100%
your detachment
very good.
Your detachment will automatically happen. So that's why we have to preach all the time. Now example, I'm always listening to kathas and all that. So the mood is always 24 hours in the God mind. So hopefully detachment is, I don't worry here and there what's happening. We just keep on listening to the all these. We listen to Krishna conscious, and we are always in that mode. So
actually,
hopefully,
that's good. Very good, Suresh. You've made perfect point.
Yeah.
If you just engage in seva, in bhakti, like you're doing the paintings, if you just engage in seva, then actually, what are you going to worry about? You're always with Krishna. He's already taken care of everything.
Even when you're painting and you're looking at Krishna, you're talking to Krishna, look, I'm doing your hands, bless me, because you're putting life in that photograph.
Yeah.
In other words, it's like
actually the photo is giving life to you, because
but my energy
nice.
is also going in there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm using my energy to focus my consciousness.
That's very good.
Yeah. So just a few words I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Nani Ben?
Yes, yes, we should always be in Krishna consciousness, but when everything is going right for you, you pray and you do things. But things we realize that you have to believe in Krishna when some misfortune happens to you, adverse events, like what happened to Chitraketu. That is the time, not as severe as that, but little adversities they do add up, and then you find that only way out of this is Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When something goes wrong, where do you take shelter?
This is it.
Where do you take shelter? Yeah.
Yes.
This is the key thing.
And I think the main thing is the fear, fear of what will happen,
Yes.
I think that is, if we get rid of the fear, like, I don't have children, how will I get liberated because no one will be able to offer pindan? It's the fear. If we leave it to Krishna, you can sort it out. It doesn't matter,
Everything is in your hands.
Yeah. I think that is the main thing. That is the main thing, we have to get rid of this fear. That's what Prabhupada even used to say, just become fearless,
Yeah, we read
Think
somewhere.
positive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that as a Krishna devotee, there is no place of fear, or there's one other thing, no place of fear, or not stress, not anger. Something else is there in a place of one who is Krishna's devotee.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be there at all.
Mm.
Fear and worry.
Lamentation.
Fear and worry and lamentation. Yes,
Yeah.
shouldn't be a part of a devotee's life.
Yeah.
Because what you've done is you've given that, you've donated that fear and lamentation to Krishna. You've said, okay, it's your problem now. You deal with it because I'm just dealing with you. Aruna?
Yeah, I agree with all of these what you're saying. Since lockdown, I have started to detach from my daughter as well. I mean, it's just me and her, and I feel the fear and all the stress about her and what will happen to her when if I'm no longer here. But now, since I'm joining this, I've noticed that I'm detaching from her, and I'm just leaving everything for Krishna.
Yes, very
That's
good.
how I feel. Yeah. So you're right. It's fear.
It's fear. Yeah, good. She belongs to Krishna. She's hers. She's his rather. She's just in your temporary care, but actually she belongs to Krishna. And it's Krishna's duty to look after her.
Yeah.
Because you have become a Krishna Bhakta. So now he takes responsibility, full responsibility.
So this is all. I'm listening to all these stories first time. If I read it again, second time, I'll probably have more questions and why. But it's very interesting.
You've made some really nice realization, nice point, really nice feedback to hear what you just said. It encourages us. So, thank you. Thank you so much.
Krishna.
Invaluable what you just contributed.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Rohit?
Can you hear me? Like previously they said that if one becomes pure devotee, we can't apply this philosophy like what you said, no, like who is your mother, father, and this whole thing. But everyone is like pure only, right? Like we lost our consciousness, like ignorance is covered by darkness. Where there is darkness, sunshine, right? Example. And so we are all pure. So why can't we apply like Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruv Maharaj? Yes, they were Mahajans. Of course, they were great devotees. We are also like part and parcel, and we left Krishna by wantedly to enjoy, right? So we are also like pure before. So just our consciousness is covered. Why can't we apply this philosophy? So that is my question to you. I mean,
Krishna explains in the Gita, right? Sometimes the mirror is covered by dust.
Smoke. Yes.
Yeah. And the womb covers the baby embryo. So it depends on the level of the ignorance.
Okay.
The worse the ignorance, the harder. Chitraketu, his ignorance was just like the dust on the mirror. Just a few words, Angira and Narad said, And suddenly he woke up and said, whoa, yes, you're absolutely right. You know, so his ignorance was immediately dispelled, just like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because his level of consciousness was already high. He was already a devotee, actually. Just needed to be a little wake-up call, that's all.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying, because everyone is like pure and left the Krishna, and we are suffering just to enjoy wantedly. So
yeah. But our
what is the wrong if we apply this philosophy, like this highest philosophy which we are saying? But people may afraid, but still we have to apply.
No,
Right?
no, we have to be very careful how we preach it. We
Okay.
have to be very careful, because if we say it in a way that puts people off and takes them further away from Krishna,
Okay.
we have done something against our Father. If we say something nicely, sweetly, but yet give the message and bring somebody closer to Krishna, then Krishna becomes pleased.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have to
I
be
heard,
very careful
yeah.
how we preach.
Okay.
Prabhupada
Yeah.
was so careful. In his books, he's given everything.
Yeah.
When we're preaching, we have to be very careful.
And I heard another story like past time, which I think one devotee, or he don't have children. When I mean, like when he died, Krishna comes and
Yeah.
what is that past time? You remember? I don't know. He keep the funeral and
He
keep
does the
fire.
shad. Yeah, that's right.
And after that, now also I think they are keeping. You know that I forgot. You say if anybody remember, maybe.
Krishna
Also, they
came
are
and
doing
did
that
it.
one. It
Sorry?
seems. No, like I forgot that past time.
Yeah, no, Krishna came and did the pin for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But even that, we don't burden Krishna. We just want to serve him, you know. I don't want him to serve us. You go to, like Vritrasura's mood, you know, heaven or hell, it makes no difference. Just want to serve you, that's all.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Riyansh.
Riyansh, yes.
Prabhuji, you are telling my third chapter that
Yeah.
the
No, not
envious
third
earth.
chapter. No. It's
No, lust, Prabhuji, lust.
oh, last, yeah. The coverings of the, that's not third chapter. The coverings of, what is it, third chapter? It might be third chapter, yeah. Yeah, you're right, it might be. Anyway, any other questions, any other comments? Otherwise, we shall move on to the lessons. Yes, to the lessons. Okay, yeah. So, Indaleka Maji.
Krishna, everyone. Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki jai. A lesson from Canto 6, Chapter 1. To avoid the hellish planet where there are terrible sufferings, we must atone for the sins committed with mind, words, and body before we leave this present body. Chapter 2, the holy name is so powerful that even if one chants imperfectly, one can get liberation due to the causeless mercy of the Lord. Chapter 3, to avoid encounter with the Yamadutas, we must render devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chapter 4, sitting in everyone's heart as Paramatma, the Lord is constantly directing us, but being so conditioned, we are unable to see or understand the Supreme Soul. Chapter 5, one who is too involved in this material world and who does not look within the core of his heart gets more entangled in the illusory energy. Chapter 6, women are not meant for the renounced order of life, but if they have competent husband, they can be liberated as they share the pious credit of the husband. Chapter 7, by the strength of the Guru, one can become very powerful within this world, but if the Guru is displeased, one can lose everything. Chapter 8, if one recites the Narayan Kavach, one can be protected from different kinds of problems. But for Vaishnavas, the Maha Mantra is most powerful. Chapter 9, mantras should be chanted correctly, otherwise there could be reverse consequences. And if we can give something in charity to a beggar, we should not hesitate because we don't know the situation of the beggar. Chapter 11, we should follow the footstep of great devotees.
We are losing you. Yeah, we're losing you. So you can say number 11 again. We've lost you, Margie.
Okay. Number 11. Can you?
Yeah.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay. It snowed heavily last night again.
Oh,
So
okay.
Okay. 11. We should follow the footsteps of great devotees who are always ready to give up their life, which is simply a cause of bondage to this matter, to this world, and which is destined for destruction. Chapter 12. The real qualification of a liberated soul is that he remains undisturbed by, I cannot get this word here.
The actions and reactions of the material nature. Right. Thank you. And Riansh, you're right. It's chapter 3, text number 38. As fire is covered by smoke, mirror is covered by dust, or embryo is covered by womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. Well done, Riansh. So, Madhusan Babu?
Haribol, yeah. Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, chapter 13, we've seen that, how Indra has to pay for having killed Vritrasur. As a second Brahman, he's actually killed, and that he obviously is regretting, and he's paying for it as well. Do a lot of atonement. So, but Vritrasur itself, he was outwardly appeared to be a demon, but inwardly he was a great devotee and therefore a great Brahman as well. So Sri Prabhupada actually instructed the Vaishnava is already a Brahman. So when you surrender to Krishna, you also got Brahminical qualities. But although a Brahman may not be a Vaishnava, and the Padma Purana says that Satkarma Nipunam Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharda Avaishnava Guru Nasyad Vaishnava Swa Pacha Guru. So he says one may be a Brahman in terms of his culture and family, and may be expert in Vedic knowledge like mantra, tantra, and visarda. But if he's not a Vaishnava, then he cannot be a guru. So a Vaishnava actually knows the proper position. Just we've seen how Chitraketu, was enlightened by the Vaishnavas, two great Vaishnavas, which is Narad Muni and Angira as well. So they're like the spiritual masters. Chapter 14, Lord Indra finally became freed from Brahmatya. So he had to go and hide in what was it?
Lotus stem of the...
Yeah, and the lotus stem as well for years and years. And performing so many atonements, and he was being chased by sin personified as well as a woman, isn't it? It's with the tuberculosis or something. And he was running away from all that as well. But finally, he does become free by performing the sacrifice just according to rules and regulations. They do Ashwamedha, yoga, and all that sort of thing. But worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul. So it's finally by worshipping with the yajna, and then that would frees him from the sinful reaction. But as Krishna says, only he can free somebody from sinful reactions. As you say in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dhamma Paritraje Mamekam Sharanam Vraj Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Masucha. Wonderful, Rians, wonderful. Yeah. So chapter 15, the subtle laws of karma, which are controlled by the Supreme, cannot be understood by ordinary conditioned souls. Therefore, Krishna says that one who can understand him and how he is acting, controlling everything by subtle laws, immediately becomes freed by his grace. So as we said that verse, Sarva Dharma Paritraje, Mamekam Sharanam Vraj. So Krishna, by his grace, we can become free of sinful reactions. But then, as we say, Sarvadam Mamekam Sharanam Vraj. When we've surrendered to Krishna, then it's up to Krishna whether he wants us to take many births. So just like Vitashur, he had to take a birth of a demon and then come forward and fight with Indra and all that. So if that's what Vitashur understood, that's what Krishna wants. So I'm doing this as a duty, as my duty. So when we surrender, that's whatever position Krishna wants us to take, then that's what we'll take. And then we worry less, we have less fear. And then also as Vaishnavas, we are concerned about the closest and the dearest to us as well. We want them to become freed from sufferings of this material world. So we pray, although they're related to us, we might say, oh, okay, I got nothing to do with him. He's just another sand particle. He'll be distance from me. No, but, we still feel for them. So we want them also to get freed from this birth. And so we pray for them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Very good. Okay, so it's really late today, so let's move on to the Nishinga prayers. And Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Narad Muni ki jai.